So I was listening to Melinda Gates' Moment of Lift, and she talks about her career at Microsoft. She talks about her career in tech. And as an industry, I think we can do better, with inclusivity and gender equity and all that. And I think you're probably lucky to work at Microsoft just because, I mean, from company perspective, I think it's one of those tech companies that, at least from what I hear, I mean, I've never worked there, they do really well when it comes to, like, at least generally from what I hear. But if you take a pulse on the industry, like, what do you, I guess, have you ever experienced that kind of weird shoulder, people not trusting that you know what you're talking about, even though, you're a lead or whatever, having to work more than the next guy or having to overcompensate for something that nobody else is doing? And how do you navigate that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole side trail to go down for sure. I do love a lot of stuff that Microsoft is doing in that space. I think is really great. It's also really common to run into that experience as someone with a non-traditional background, as a woman, as anyone from an underrepresented group. They're not uncommon stories. I can think of, there was a conference that some colleagues and I were going to where we were presenting, and there was kind of the lead engineer was presenting and two of us were there to help with questions. And like when we went afterward to go mingle, the three of us were standing together and everybody came up and like shook the hand of the first guy. Nice talk. Shook the hand of the next guy. Oh yes, lovely to see you here. Then they just kind of looked at me like, I was like, I'm also on the team. Yes, lovely to meet you too, right? Or like chatting with people. I still go to all these networking events because it's useful, chatting with people at networking events, and definitely gotten before things like, oh, so you're a non-traditional background. Like, well, yeah, but so were a lot of people. Like there haven't been CS degrees for the entire history of computers, as it were. And then they'll kind of like credential check, like, but do you understand how to reverse a linked list? Or did you just like do some front end stuff? I'm like, that's the whole mood. Like I have opinions about people who refer to front end as front end stuff. That's usually not a great thing in my book. And there are excellent engineers who do a whole lot of great work on the front end, as well as on the back end, as well as everywhere else. So I don't want to pretend like I don't run into that. It happens. And it also gets compounded by like imposter syndrome, right? Like when you're breaking into an industry that you don't know and you feel like an outsider, then every time you run into that, it's like, maybe they are going to figure that out. Yeah, exactly. Like, oh gosh, maybe I really don't belong. And so, I mean, like to this day, like I remember like I got the apprenticeship at Microsoft and I'm like, I got to kill it because I need a job. Like they're going to figure out I don't actually know how to do this. Oh my gosh. And then like I got the job and I was like, okay, well, I got to impress them because otherwise they're going to figure out that I don't belong here. And like, here we are 4.5 years down the road. And I still come in some Mondays and I'm like, they're going to figure out, this is the week. This is going to be the week that they really figure it out that I don't belong here. And like, I have to like talk myself up every morning that it's like, no, I do belong here. I have been doing stuff. I am doing good work. But like that imposter syndrome is real. And I think sometimes people don't realize if you're from an underrepresented group, the ways that imposter syndrome can get reinforced by just subtle cues interacting with people when it's like, oh, Kristen, your hair looks awesome. Hey, so-and-so, did you hear this thing about Elasticsearch? Like, like it's just little things. But when you add up all those little things, sometimes it's easy to like feel like it's me. And then I have to remind myself like, no, it's not me. Lots of people don't have degrees. Lots of people who have degrees don't know everything. Lots of people who have been around Microsoft for 20 plus years still don't know everything. And I need to lean into my strengths instead of being afraid that I'm going to be found wanting in some imaginary exam that doesn't actually exist.